working. Here we go. Okay, fantastic. And let's see. Just give me 1 second. And maybe it isn't working. Let's see. Uh, it typically goes into our Facebook group. And oh, there it is. It is live. Okay. So I was just filling everyone in on the fact that I've read recently that Facebook is doing away with the third-party service live streaming. So it's possible this isn't going to work much longer. And so I was saying we're probably going to also be maybe moving our events and live streams to LinkedIn as one possibility. So welcome to everyone who's here today. It's great to see you all. If you're watching on one of our other platforms, there's some of you in here in the Zoom room with me. Some of you might be watching on Facebook or YouTube or LinkedIn or some of the myriad of places that we stream into. Or if you're watching on replay, say hello, #replay and say hello. And this is really, I guess that's just a great way to start. This is an example of visibility, ways to have higher visibility, right? Like having the ability to, for free, right? We talk a lot about organic lead gen in my community and all the free ways of publicity that are out there. So this is just one way that you can get yourself highly visible on a lot of different platforms in a pretty simple, straightforward way. So I always love to start by gauging like who's here today. And of course, those of you in the Zoom room, we have the chat going here. So, you can also feel free on the other platforms to comment, and I always go back and check those comments later. But those of you who are in the Zoom, let me know where you feel like you're at with your own visibility journey. Do you feel like you're a beginner? Put a B in the chat. Are you more of an intermediate? You can put an I, or if you're more advanced, go ahead and put an A in the chat. It's definitely something I like to do is kind of cater and customize to the people who are here and showing up for the class. Okay, I see some B's and I, B to I. Okay, good. So that's good to know. And yeah, it's great. It's perfect. You're exactly in the right place. With the work that I do and the programs that we have and the clients we cater to are all three. So whether you're a beginner, whether you've done a little bit of this work, or you're a super pro, you've done a ton of it, it doesn't really matter because we all have our next level of visibility, right? You have your next win, and it's all about leveraging those wins into the bigger wins. So fantastic. I see another B coming through here. Fantastic. Okay. Yeah. It's Allison's first masterclass. Yay. A lot of you have also come out to my masterminding parties. We have an incredible collective community of heart-centered, purpose-driven, mostly women entrepreneurs. I always say we do have some men. It's also great to know your audience and your demographic. So I would say my audience is more 85 to 86% women. And then we do have some men that participate, that come to our events, that are even in my programs, but it's largely women. And I do believe that all are welcome and all deserve visibility. So we have an inclusivity policy that, anyone's welcome to apply to work with me in my programs. So with all of that being said, the token divine men, yes, as Allison says. Yeah, we've got some good ones in our community for sure. So with that all being said, who here came today because they were excited to hear about the fact that you can actually reach more people in an aligned way without having to do loads of tech, social media, or, even hire an expensive PR firm, right? Is that one reason that you came today? If yes, put a 1 in the chat. The good news is a lot of the people in my community do not love the tech. They do not love the social media. There are a lot of entrepreneurs and solopreneurs, small business owners, founders. They don't have huge budgets for ad spends, right? I always say that advertising is not a small business owner's game. So if you are someone who would like to reach more people without having to do those expensive campaigns, advertising or PR, right? I'm a publicist and have had a PR agency for over 2 decades, so I know how much it costs and how much we charge to do a PR agency project. So yeah, I see lots of ones came through here. Ada says she doesn't mind the social media. It's all the other stuff. Yeah. And we all have our likes, our dislikes, our preferences, our strengths, our weaknesses. So a lot of you also have taken my quiz, the Shine Superpower quiz. So that would be either that you're a light walker, world changer, transformer, or protector. So if you know your visibility archetype, we kind of know where we're starting. So for those of you who haven't taken it yet and you would like to, you can go to shinesuperpower.com. And Marie just popped that into the chat there, and find out what your visibility archetype is. And that will give you a good indicator of what some of those strengths are. But also knowing the gaps and the weaknesses is so key, because those are the areas that we want to lean into. And we want to do this in an aligned way that feels good, because if we're giving you cookie cutter, formulas and saying, do this, everyone do this, like, it doesn't really work that way, because not everyone is the same. Not everyone likes to do things the same way, right? Some people prefer to be a little more behind the scenes with maybe focusing more on their writing versus speaking in public or on stages. And the only 3 ways you're going to get visible are writing, speaking, and the media. And of course, within those avenues, there are so many ways to go. So really figuring out, like, what is it that we need to do for you? Where are you wanting to go? What are your biggest gaps and weaknesses? And then how do we get you? What's the plan to get you to this next chapter? So because we're in such the intense kind of eclipse energy, which is a really powerful time for setting intentions, let's start there today. Let's really get clear on our vision. I call it the visibility vision. And so one big piece of that is, like, what would your dream visibility win be? Like, where would you be seen? Is it on a stage? Is it, through any of those avenues, writing, speaking, the media, right? Like, where is it? Is it, maybe it's launching your book or having a book? Is it being on a certain show or podcast? Like, what is a place that you would feel really proud and excited to have people buzzing about you on, right? So think about that, like, where you would really feel good showing up in the world and knowing that your ideal people that you're working to impact, they're seeing you there. And that's just one piece of it. So thinking about that, but also, why is that so important? And what is happening in your world when you have this incredible visibility win? I'm just going to throw out Oprah because so many people will say, they want to be in Oprah's magazine, or Super Soul Sunday is, that's a big popular one. Today Show, Good Morning America, those kinds of very high profile media wins are things that I hear all the time. So what do you think happens when you have that kind of third-party stamp of approval from somebody that's raving about you, your work in the world? Let's just, popcorn in the chat there. Like, what comes with that, right? You have this big win. If you want to put in your dream win, you can share that too. But what comes with that? Go ahead and let's see what kind of answers we get here in the chat. What's happening in your world when your right aligned people are seeing you in the right aligned places? I see Allison has her hand up. Allison, did you have a question or you wanted to share?
I do. I just wanted, well, I'm happy to share too, but when you say writing, because you had mentioned a book, and then you mentioned media. So can you clarify, like, is digital in like Well and Good, for example. That's one of my magazines that I'd love to be featured in. So if I'm in Well and Good and I contribute an article that's writing, but I have a goal of a book. So I'd love to map out. I started my now to 3 months would be, and then the next category, and then the next category, six to, so on.
Got it. So I'm sorry to clarify, you are looking for the distinction between, can you say that again or reframe the question?
Yes, is writing just writing a book, or is writing in to get an article inside of that media?
Yeah, so it can be anything that falls within the writing realm. So when I do my fuller, like with slide presentations and everything, and when it's some of my master classes, some of you maybe have seen, I'll list out like, here's just a few of the ways through your writing. Here are a few ways through the speaking, through the media. So absolutely, I always say a book is a powerful PR and marketing tool. So especially those of you who maybe are more on the transformer, protector, visibility, archetype sides, if you really prefer to do more writing and be a little more behind the scenes, you're not as comfortable on stages or speaking. That's more maybe the world changers or the light walkers are a little more comfortable in that direction. Then we might look at like, what are some of the ways we can use you in your writing to start establishing your profile. So yeah, so Allison, absolutely. If it's like, I just want to get my book done, like that can be the writing. It could be contributing articles to your favorite outlet. I think you mentioned Well and Good.
Okay.
So 100%, yeah, it could be whatever falls into that writing category.
Okay. Thank you.
You're
Thank you. And then when those books that come together that are like, say, for all the women here, if you were to have a book and you were to take each of our stories, it would not take long to write the book, right? It's just merely culminating them and putting your intro and so on and so forth. I want to include stories of women's transformation from my, program. So that's a longer process. But I'm imagining that it's kind of the same. You're gathering everything, and then when it's time, I then insert the particular story to illustrate that chapter's value, or
Yeah. Are you talking
is
about
that how it goes?
Yeah, are you talking about doing more like an anthology book that features your clients? Is that it?
Well, there's all these ways to go about it. And so I want to be, somewhat strategic, like, masculine energy, and then having the feminine just go with what's natural, developing, um, uh, having the program unfold and letting it all just kind of be natural at the same time. And so, because I appreciate being in both of those spaces, and I don't know how, from a PR perspective, because you are so open-hearted and just have a pulse on what's needed, I wanted to kind of understand that.
Yeah, so I think that really kind of comes around to like the two biggest aspects of, as you're building your profile, really, because this, at the end of the day, your PR is your image, your reputation, how you're received in the world, how the public is seeing you, right? And how you're seen in the public eye. And so there's two main ways when you look at your PR and your visibility that we're going to keep you out there and get you out there. And that is through the evergreen efforts and then the project-based efforts. So the evergreen is something that you can be doing year round all the time, consistently. And that's due diligence, right? That's how you build your profile, is by continually, forevermore, building this into your weekly, monthly business activity to keep yourself top of mind in the zeitgeist, right? Like present out there. And then that's also what helps you with longevity in your career and your business. When you have that consistency over time, that's when you really start to see things go through the stratosphere and amplify, because it's a build, right? It builds over time. That's when you can raise your prices. That's when you grow your audience. That's when all the wonderful things that come along with that start to happen. So then we amp it up. So when you have a book, right? Because a book, it might take you a year in some cases people do it in a weekend, but in most cases you're looking at 6 to 12 months at least.
Yeah.
And so that's where it's about, you're going to build up to the book launch. Anytime you're doing a PR launch, there's a pre-stage, a during stage, and a post stage, right? And the bulk of that happens within about 6 months, right? And when you're thinking of long lead, right, that's a lot of the long lead magazines. If you want to be in those, you have to be planning 4 to 6 months out. So then you have your short lead campaign, which generally starts maybe 3 months out. So there's just a lot of different layers to it. But I think the big thing that we're getting at with your question and what you're bringing up is that it's really important to be doing this work year round in an evergreen way, which means just consistently, right? It doesn't have to be tied to a new program or a book launch or an event, but then you also have an opportunity anytime you have those other things happening. It's actually a missed opportunity if you're having a book come out, if you're having a speaking opportunity, if you're, appearing somewhere, doing something in your business, that you're not making a little bit of a splash or a big splash about it. So does that help
Thank
get a little
you.
more
Yes,
perspective on that?
very much.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, great question. And I see there's another question coming through here. I'm going to take Allison off spotlight here. Okay. Yeah, I love the questions. So yeah, feel free to ask away. So we have, let's see. Ada saying, I'm not the biggest fan of public speaking. I can do virtual, but in person terrifies me. I like writing and would love to be able to contribute articles, turn my newsletter into a blog, be a guest on some podcasts, and eventually have my own podcasts. So let me see. There's Ada. And
it's actually Aida.
Aida. Okay, sorry about that.
That's okay. I get that all the time. And my video is not blurry anymore. It was
Okay, I was gonna say yeah, you're asking if
no,
you
it was just me. I had to stop the video and restart. Now it's fine.
Okay, yeah, it looks good. Yeah, so I mean, this is all, yeah, if you're not a fan, right, of the public speaking, there's a lot of different ways to go. So if you're not a fan of tech, if you're not a fan of social media, if you're not a fan of ads, like that's where the good news for everyone here is that there is this whole other realm of opportunity and ways that you can get out there. So really, this is what we do is we look at what do you love to do? What lights you up? Because if you're out there and not lit up in what you're doing, people feel that, right? So the first thing I always talk about is that alignment piece, because we want you to feel aligned with your vision. So again, we're kind of coming back to where we started here. We were talking about what would be that big win and what's happening when you have that. So I think we had, let's see, yeah, if you want to just go ahead and for you personally, when you think about that win, go ahead and pop there in the chat. What is happening in your world when you have that win? Is it that you have a wait list of clients? Is that your revenue went up? Is that you were able to build out your team or launch different aspects of your business? Are you traveling more? Like what's happening in your world once you know you're on the other side of that dream visibility win? Feel free to add in any thoughts around what's happening for you. Because this is the big thing. Like we have to know the why, right? Because we're not just doing visibility for visibility's sake. We're doing visibility with a purpose. So all of you are here because you're wanting to make a bigger impact in the world. So can I get an amen in the chat if that's your mission? It's to impact more people in the world, right? If you're feeling it's on your heart, right, that you have this purpose, yeah, here come the amens, right? So you're here to make that bigger purpose or that bigger impact with your purpose. So one avenue of making that is through the visibility. So when you get that visibility, that is when you're reaching more people, you're growing your audience, you're getting enhanced credibility, enhanced legitimacy, your revenue goes up, you're raising your prices, you're seen in a different way in the world. You're seen as a leading expert, a go-to expert, a thought leader, right? You're no longer the best kept secret in your industry or niche. So yeah, so this is like the kind of stuff that's happening, right? When you have that visibility win. So since we have a lot of beginner intermediates today, let's see. Oh, Allison is saying back living in Portugal. I love it. Yes, yes to Europe. I'm actually heading there soon. So many people seem to be relocating over there in the Mediterranean, and it's amazing. Let's see. I see Aida is saying, you would have a full coaching practice. I don't have to work in your recruiting business. Yeah, we all have our different reasons for why we want to be on the other side of that vision, right? Because we know that's where the magic and miracles start to happen. So then we think about like, well, what's stopping us, right? And so it's usually one of two things. And for some of us, and I'm an example, some of you have heard my story. I was behind the scenes for 2 decades because I didn't want to put myself out there in the spotlight. I was like, it's all about my clients. It's not about me. And, as a publicist, that is my job. But trust me, there are a lot of publicists that take advantage of their situation and they take advantage of that spotlight. So I was the one going, no, it's not about me. But then when I moved into the online world, I realized for online business, like, oh my gosh, it's got to be me. No one's going to share my message better than me. And so getting over ourselves is a big piece of it. So with a lot of us, even the most confident women out there, even my light walkers who are the most confident usually with putting themselves out there, there's stuff that comes up, right? We all have our things, or there's something that might stop us along the way. And it's, sometimes it's just as simple as, I don't know what to do. I don't know the steps. I don't know how to do it. So generally there's 2 components to it, right? It can basically be, something on the mindset, spiritual alignment side. Maybe we have a block or something that's blocking us that we're not even aware. And then there's, so you've got your spiritual mindset alignment. Then there's the actual strategy, the external work, the steps. So really that's like the 2 sides of it, the 2 sides of the coin. A lot of the more confident, high-performing women that maybe have even already done a lot of speaking and they put themselves out there a lot already. Most of that time I just hear, just tell me what to do. I just need the steps. And of course you don't know the steps. It's not your wheelhouse. Like I don't know your wheelhouse, right? Like we all have our magic and our expertise. So a lot of times it's just I can wind some of these women up and point them in the right direction and just give them the plan and the strategy. And it's incredible to see what happens. Now, if you are one of the women who has a little bit more of the like, well, I'm kind of staying in the shadows. I have, some qualms about being visible. There's some deeper reasons there. And sometimes we need to start there and look at that and get you feeling more comfortable with being visible first. Because if you still have those things and you're trying to implement my awesome strategy, you might still end up a little challenged or going slower or back at the drawing board because you have these things that are stopping you, right? Because it's like, no matter how great the strategy, if we're not in alignment internally with it and with that vision and that end goal, then that's where we get stuck and challenged or things go a little slower. So the superpower that I bring in with my background of also being an energy healer and working in the healing arts is that it's all about energy first and clearing anything that does not serve, getting you so tapped in, turned on, and connected to your vision that it goes faster, easier, smoother. It just clicks into place. And that's when those people, places, opportunities, experiences, things like show up, and it just moves, I don't know, 10, 100 times faster, a lot faster. Is this resonating with you all? Is anyone feeling like, yeah? So who here feels like, let's do a little test in the chat of, do you feel like you're number one, which is there's some mindset alignment piece blocking you, and or number two, you just need the steps. So write a one, and or two. Sometimes it's both, one and two. If you feel like you're resonating with, okay, those are, that lands for me. Like, I know there's something where I'm blocking myself a little bit still, like, whether it's fears, unconscious, maybe belief systems, limiting beliefs, something's there. Or, I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good at putting myself out there. I love doing it. I don't have a lot of qualms or fears around it. I just need the steps. So one is mindset alignment. Two would be more strategy and steps. So feel free to share where you're at. And yeah, I see a lot of you are the combo, right? It's usually a little bit of both. Yeah. That's awesome to see. Yeah. A lot of self-awareness here in the room. And let's see. Also, I see Christina's asking, can you speak more into how different ways to get out there and the most natural ways for each type? For example, the archetypes like world changer. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, I would say again, and I think I don't know if that question came before. I know I mentioned a little bit of this, but like that the world changers and light walkers, tend to be more comfortable putting themselves out there when it comes to maybe speaking on stages or public speaking. When you go back down kind of the four, like it kind of goes, Lightwalker is probably the most comfortable, then World Changer, then you start to get the more maybe introverted, which is the Transformer, and then the Protector, who is the person who would rather sing into their hairbrush in the bathroom mirror than, put themselves out there in public in any way. So, and I've had my journey through it as well. Like I was probably a transformer when, a few years back when I first started this. And then I kind of moved in as I leaned into my own gifts and purpose and blasted through my fears and limiting beliefs and my passion for serving others and making an impact and helping make the world a better place. That all took precedence over, staying in the shadows. It was like, oh, okay, wait, if I actually want to help people, they have to be able to find us, right? They, how are people going to discover and find you and hire you if you're, in your living room? So Christina's doing the snaps. Yeah. So, we all are largely working from virtually these days, and we are in our living room, but then you have to have your moments. And I've had to find my balance with this too. Like those of you who know me from my community, like my social media is kind of on life support, but because I force myself, I create situations where I have to put myself out there because I am being of service in the world. So my masterminding parties is a great example, right, of how I organically connect with new women who might be aligned to work with me. And, I do it from a very feminine energy of it's not masculine at all. There's no pressure. There's no strings attached. It's like when we shine our light and we just are who we are from our pure essence of our being and, really caring about others in the world, it just becomes a natural organic conversation when you do connect with those right aligned people. So, if I didn't have my monthly, well, it's not every month, most months we do them, my masterminding party, I would probably just be like in my living room. I wouldn't be putting myself out there. So it's, it's a win-win. I get to raise the visibility of other women, and then I get visibility as well for my message and my movement. And that's what it's about, is just finding those ways that are aligned to you, that feel good. And I think I've created something that's unlike anything else out there over this past year and a half, with our new system. So that's, for me, it was very important to find a different way of existing in the online business world, because I came from the school of masculine, like hard knocks, like live launches, like let's burn out all the adrenals. And I was like, you know what? My system doesn't love this. So let me find something that I do love and stick with it and make it work. And that's, I think a big message and lesson that comes through all the time is the people who are successful, especially, in the entrepreneurial world, are the ones who don't quit. So sticking with it, staying focused. And again, that's another superpower I'd say I have, is being able to see where people do need to focus. And, a lot of us are working on a lot of non-income generating busy work and things that are not propelling us forward. So being able to see, like, where does the focus need to be? One of my past clients, Teresa V, who some of you have heard about, that was her biggest thing. She was like, for the first time, I'm feeling lit up in my business again, because we got her focused. We had a plan. So having that plan to focus your energies is so key. And it's not the same for everyone. That's the difference, is having the lens of, I've been in this business, PR marketing, 27 plus years now. Like, it's just in me. It's in my blood. Like, I can look at someone's stuff and just know, like, okay, this is the path. It's a gift that I have, but it also comes with a lot of experience that backs it up. And so being able to really identify, where do you want to go, which we've talked about today, your visibility, like vision, and the great things that come with that. Knowing where you're getting stuck or stopping yourself is another big piece, which we've talked about, right? Like whether it's limiting beliefs or maybe you just don't know the steps. And then, of course, having the plan, right? So I'm going to guess 99% of whoever's watching this video, whether it's on replay or anyone in my community, I'm going to guess you don't have a plan in place, a PR marketing visibility plan to get you to that vision. So that's a huge missed opportunity. So when we think about like missed opportunities and like what it's costing us, I mean, so many of you know your money goals, right? Like we talk a lot about like what's your monthly money goal. And when you think how far you are from that right now, so say your monthly money goal is, we'll just use some round, simple numbers to keep it easy. Say it's 10K a month. Maybe it's 20K or 50K, whatever it is for you. But let's just say 10K. And say you're bringing in about 5K a month right now. So if you know that when you get visible and do the things and have the plan and implement and get yourself out there in front of the right people in the right way at the right time, and that's the game changer. And you're not at your money goal yet, but that's what's going to get you there. So it's literally costing you 5K a month to not be stepping forward and leaning in and doing the things, the number one thing that is going to get you there, which is getting in front of the right people. And this is the gap I found in the marketplace, because there are a million ways you can go out there. There's a million coaches. There's endless advice. But what I found is what I do, like from my PR agency world inside, was how powerful that work is, also how expensive it is. And, I was serving celebrities, millionaires, billionaires, but wanting to put this in the hands of the small business owner is like, that's the gap I saw. I was like, I can help more people around the world who have really important messages, movements, services, products, whatever it is that you're putting out there, and help you get that kind of awareness, exposure, recognition, visibility, right? That these people who can afford, they can have the huge budgets to spend, right? So being able to get this into your hands, that's why I'm here today, right? As some of you have heard my story too about my grandmother passing, which is really what propelled me to be here today. I wouldn't be here today if every single thing that had happened along the way hadn't happened, because I was very happy to stay behind the scenes. But when my grandmother passed, who was one of my best friends, that was the fire under my booty that I needed to say life is short, and I've got a purpose, and I've got a vision, and I've got a plan to get out there in a bigger way, and I've got to take action on it. So thinking about for you too, like where are you cutting yourself short? Why are you still staying behind the scenes in the shadows when, we do have a limited time here on this planet, on this earth? So, I've had those experiences, and you can tell me if you've had this happen too, where someone actually showed up and said, I was praying for you last night. I literally prayed for this answer, and then you showed up in my inbox this morning. And here I am today with you. It was, a woman who came to a class and ended up working with me. And sadly, like, she was battling breast cancer, but she also knew that she had a story to tell and that she really wanted to get it out there. And so that was my role in her experience was, let's tell your story. Even though things are rough and life's in session and you're struggling a lot right now, she was going through chemo, and she put herself out there. She shared her story to help and serve and inspire others with what she was going through. And sadly, she did pass during the pandemic. And it was heartbreaking for our community and all that knew her, because we thought if anyone can beat this, this cancer, it's her. And it didn't happen. She ended up passing. So it's when I say that life is short and this is no joke, and you have a story and you have something to share with the world, like, it's true for all of us, because tomorrow is not promised to any of us. So I know that that's usually my role with the women who show up in my space is I've broken a lot of big stories for, even billionaires, philanthropists, like women that are, very high profile out there. And they had a story to tell, but they hadn't told it yet, and they weren't quite ready. But then we met. And then that was, my role in their life was helping them navigate that gauntlet of, I've helped people tell their Me Too stories, right? So whatever it is, you have a story and you have something to share, and, you can get it out there in a big way. And there are people that you're going to touch that, like, if I hadn't met that woman, that I'm sharing that did pass, like, it's just, now we have her legacy. She still has all her social media posts out there, all the people that loved her, that she was able to touch, that wouldn't have necessarily been there to that extent if we hadn't focused on that for her. So yeah, so just thinking about, like, what is it on your heart that you want to share, that you're meant to do in the world while you're here in this short time that we all come around on this spinny rock. Yeah. So let's see if I'm missing any questions here in the chat. Does anyone have any thoughts or questions about anything that we're talking about today or touching on, or for your own stuff when it comes to getting out there?
Just a comment, Heather. I was working with another coach who was helping me with building my sales, and she was huge on doing talks, like speaking engagements. And that seemed to be the main thing she was pushing. And, like I mentioned in the comments, I'm okay with virtual. I've done a couple of talks virtually, but the thought of, like, walking into a room with people sitting, like, right in front of me just freaks me out. So I feel like I'm better, like, in this environment, and I also love to write. I'm not writing a book or anything. I just like writing, like I do my weekly newsletters and I try to comment within different Facebook groups. Um, so are you saying that like don't force your like I'm not trying to hide, but like how do you balance the am I kind of hiding because I'm scared, or is it because I just don't like doing it? Like I think it's kind of a combination of several things.
And that's where a little excavation comes in, right? It's like, there is going to be something there that we could discover probably for you around why you don't like it, right? So there's most people don't love, at least in my kind of world, I would say, because a lot of the women are a little bit older.
Mhm.
We don't love social media. We didn't grow up with it. Right? It's like a different generation. If you're younger and you love it, that's great. Or maybe you adapted, and there are a lot of influencers that are older that are doing amazing things out there. But if it's not like your thing that lights you up, then it's like, okay, there's two sides to that. One is, well, let's not lean into that, right? Let's lean into the areas where you feel good and you are lit up. But at the
Mhm.
same time, we want to look at what's the layer beneath that. And most of the time there is something around a fear, a limiting belief. I will say,
Mhm.
because I've done the classes where I have, if any of you have ever seen one of the slides I share with all the reasons that people say they're still, not putting themselves out there. And there are so many reasons, right? Like fear of judgment. What are people going to say? What if I do it wrong? Family, cultural things. There's just so many layers and levels to what each person has in their personal experience. So for you, like, yeah, we would want to look at, okay, like, what if we go a layer deeper to the not liking? What is it about it that you don't like?
I think
Right?
it's the judgment and not necessarily liking the way I look, like being heavier than I used to be. And then people seeing that, like, on camera, you can kind of hide it because you're just seeing, shoulders and head. um, but in person, it's like you're fully there.
Yeah.
And it's like, the human mind is like, people are critiquing and judging.
Yeah.
Um, and it's just the human brain being afraid of being outcast from the tribe. I know that, but it's
Yeah.
but it's still real. Like, you
Mhm.
still feel it in your body, even though you're not in danger. It
Yeah.
still feels like you're in danger, right?
Yeah. It's some of those very primal human feelings and experiences. Yeah. So the thing that I typically do with that is I focus on, I don't like to dig through the garbage. Like it's good to have an awareness of what's in the garbage of like, okay, we've got some mindset stuff here. But let's drop in, let's get into the body, let's get somatic, right? Let's feel in the body like where this thought or fear is living, and let's shift it, let's release it, and let's feel so deeply into the vision that lights us up so much and raises our vibration so much that it actually helps transmute anything else that is not in alignment with that vision. And
Hmm.
what you will find is that you start to have these internal shifts where it's like flipping that switch of like, okay, like I am so passionate about the result, right? The impact you're going to have and make, that becomes overriding to anything else.
Right, because it's not about me. It's about my message or how I can help people. And it's funny because when I went through coach certification back in it was during COVID 2020, like I wasn't even used to getting on Zoom. Like just seeing myself on Zoom made me uncomfortable. And now I'm so comfortable with it. And so yeah, those internal shifts do start happening when you kind of push yourself to do things you didn't think you could do.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
is like it definitely, like, that's so true, and it's like a muscle. So
Mhm.
the first time is the hardest. I mean, my first video is on my Instagram and it was pre-recorded. I never had gone live. I had never done a video on like a public platform. But I had to do that first one. And, it's like old hat, right? Like it's, but I still come up on my edges too. Yeah. So, I've done some on stage in public things, but that is for me, that's a stretch as well. So you have to at least start putting your toe in the water and building that confidence. And that's the same with every part of your business, with your offers, with your visibility, right? Getting the clients, like all the things. It's just continuing to just show up, take the steps, implement, and practice. And over time, like, in I would say 12 months, but even like 3 to 6 months, suddenly you're like, wait, I did all these little things. And now all of a sudden I'm over here just because you knew the steps to take and the actions to implement.
Yeah, the live video will be my next big step. I've done lots of social media posts, but I haven't done any live videos yet. So.
Yeah, so that's knowing your edge, right? Like that's your edge you've got to lean into. And the first time is going to be maybe a little more challenging or stressful, but I guarantee you, if you keep doing it and keep showing up, it gets easier and easier over time. For sure. Yeah. Yeah. Does that feel like that helps, Ada, in terms of the mindset around it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I liked what you said about the feeling into it. And can't remember exactly what you said, but it was like feeling into it and then slowly allowing those shifts to happen. Because if you repress it, it just keeps coming back stronger and stronger. So you have to actually process the feeling.
What is that? Yeah. What is coming up for you? You can journal on it. You can do your deeper meditation. You can work with a healer. Like that's something we do in my community or my Shine Online Mastermind once a month. We actually are doing that alignment work together to make sure that everyone is still in alignment with their vision. Whatever's coming up, we clear, we release, right? So that you can have what you want faster in an easier way. Yeah. You've got this. Awesome. Give some love to Aida, if I'm saying it correctly again. Awesome. Okay. Beautiful. All right, everyone. Well, this has been so great to see you all. There is something, I wasn't sure if I was going to mention it today, but I'm going to just plant the seed because it's not really anything official yet. But, like I said, with me, it's always like a conversation. So I very much believe in building, my business organically. So what I have decided is I think I'm going to be actually introducing something new that just divine inspiration came in. And it is going to be sort of a media amplifier. I have media amplifier packages, but it's going to be the first time I'm ever doing this, which again, it's all in all of our businesses, right? It's all trial and error. So we see what works and what people respond to. So what I'm going to be doing is, so normally to work with me, it's either through my agency or my one-to-one or my mastermind program. And I do have some lower ticket products, some workshops, things like that. But for the people that really want to work with me, it's generally a bit more of an investment. So I wanted to create something that would make it easier for more people to step in and get some sort of traction and results really quickly. So I'm thinking of doing this a 30-day amplifier, which basically would be you'd get to work with me personally. It's a one-to-one experience. And we're going to make you official. I think I'm even going to call it that. Make yourself official, make it official, be official, become official, something like that. And we're going to put out a global news announcement about you and your business. And that's where my years of media expertise come into play, of knowing how to help you know what's newsworthy and what we're going to make into international news. And we're going to put that out. You're going to get a ton of, we'll get it over the wire distribution. So you'll get a ton of SEO boosting, because you're probably going to get a couple hundred affiliate media site pickups. is what we call them in the PR world. And so we would do that just to give you that boost that you need. And that's going to boost your message, your confidence, your whatever you're putting out there, if maybe it's a new program or a service. And then we'll also bonus in your first media placement where we place an article for you about you. And that'll be in a Google ranked authority site. That's like, a nicely trafficked site. So you'll have all of a sudden you'll have a ton of links to share with the world, media placements, right? For that credibility, that authority, and all of that. And so normally to even work with me to do stuff like that, it's literally like thousands of dollars. But I want to do something where it would be under like 1K and just, within 30 days, a quick, comprehensive media campaign to get you that initial boost to get you going. And from there, we'd set you off with your next steps action plan of where to go from there. Because obviously, like I said today, this isn't about just doing a one-off thing. This is about building this into your business forevermore. But the two things I hear the most frequently are, can you just do it for me? So this is one way of that being a possibility normally my agency is like 10K a month, 3 to 6 month minimums, like just for us and me and my team to rep you and for my team and I to actually do the work. So this would just be like a nice boost that is pretty much mostly done for you. Of course, you have to like do an intake form and we do, a deep dive together. So you obviously participate in it. But anyway, I'd love to get a gauge for anyone who's here and watching or on the replay, even comment in wherever you're watching and just write media in the chat or in the comments if that's something that sounds interesting to you. And then myself or someone from my team, we can reach out to you to see, because I'm not, again, it's working privately with me. So we're not going to be able to do it for everybody, but we'll probably take on a handful of first, clients to do the experience and just, and go from there. So if that's of interest to you, feel free to just type media and we will reach out. And I see, did I miss some questions here too? Let's see. Awesome. Okay, so wonderful. All right, so we are coming up on the hour here. Any last thoughts or questions from today? You all were awesome. It was so great to see you. Thank you for being here. Really remember to tap into those visibility visions, right? And get into alignment with them and be aware of what's coming up and what's stopping you and get that plan together, right? Make sure you create your PR marketing plan, whether it's with me or somebody else. There's a lot of support out there in the world for you to get visible. So find the path that's most aligned to you. And I'm here for anybody who's interested or wants to check in. I also do, my schedule is pretty full right now. I was going to say that we also offer the visibility audit. I think I'm just going to throw it out there and we'll see if we can fit you in depending on my schedule. But for anyone who hasn't had a visibility audit yet, and you are an established, high-performing woman in business, and you are wanting to amp up your visibility, if you write audit in the chat or in the comments below, we'll also know to reach out to you and see about getting you that audit. And that's a 20-minute session with me where we specifically identify your gaps, where you need to go, and what the plan is going to be to get there. All right, everyone, you are welcome. I see some gratitude coming here. Beautiful. So great to see you all today. And yeah, feel free to make some noise, take yourselves off mute as we say goodbye, and we'll see you in the community.
Thank you, Heather. It was nice to meet you.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Really
Have a
great.
beautiful day.
All right.
Hugs and
Bye.
kisses.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.